All right, what's going on, everybody? I am Geddis Shonekan, and I'm rocking here with Matt. Matt, I know who you are, but why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to everybody so they know who you are as well, too.
Hey, Geddis. Yeah, my name is Matt Sapienza. For those of you who don't know me, I've been a licensed loan officer here for over a decade now, and currently with LoanDepot, and here to talk some stuff about down payment assistance and first-time homebuyer stuff.
Yeah. So, there's a multitude of reasons I think why sometimes people in our age group or even younger can't get into the house they want, or they feel like they can't get into the house they want. Big part of that is down payment. So one question I get asked a lot about is, what is down payment assistance? Can I qualify? How does it work? How does it, all that kind of good stuff. So why don't you go ahead and explain to us what down payment assistance is?
I mean, in the most basic sense, down payment assistance are funds that different agencies have kind of allocated to help mostly first-time home buyers with down payment and closing cost funds. So some of these programs will cover just about everything. Some of them will help you out just a little bit here and there. Other ones, you don't even have to be a first-time home buyer, believe it or not. So there are programs out there for, repeat buyers to gain access to funds, especially if you're a veteran. But even if you're not, there are some programs out there that can, help get you back into a house if you recently sold one.
So this is basically just money that I can use towards my down payment, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how does that work? Where does that money come from?
Well, in many cases, it comes from either federal or state agencies. We have options here at LoanDepot where Fannie Mae will offer you grants. We have Florida e-housing programs. So, there's a multitude of programs there that they will give you up to $10,000 up to $35,000 in funds depending on your purchase price. And limit. So, it's really, sometimes you can even get them from lenders like LoanDepot. We offer grant programs. We offer second mortgage options. So several different places that you can obtain those funds, and just got to make sure you're working with the right program based off of your unique situation.
So some of these down payment assistance programs you don't have to pay back, I'm assuming, right? And
Correct.
Others, and then there's ones that you do have to pay back. How does that work? So if you're a person that, let's say, they want to get down payment assistance and it's not one that'll be forgiven over, like 7 years or 5 years or whatnot, if they sell or refinance or whatnot, how does that work? Does the person have to make payments on that down payment assistance, or?
Most programs that I use here regularly do not have any type of monthly repayment. So we do have ones where they're completely free. So it's grant money. Those are normally specific target areas that will allow for that, or certain income brackets that will allow for that. Otherwise, like if you're most recently, Hometown Heroes will be coming out back in July, or Florida Bond in the meantime. Those are technically a second loan on your house at 0% interest, and you're not paying interest on them. But you do ultimately pay that back when you sell the house, you refinance the house. You're supposed to pay it back when you move out of the house as well. And then, you do have ones where we will lend you an additional amount of money to help you out with that. And yeah, you're paying, $100 to $250 a month additional to pay for that particular mortgage. So there's all different kinds of options based off of the specific criteria.
So you mentioned Hometown Heroes. I know there's people out there that have probably heard of that. If I'm a first-time home buyer or first-time home buyer and I want to buy a house, and I don't have a bunch of money that I can put down, how do I qualify for Hometown Heroes?
Well, Hometown Heroes, they start out typically each July with about $100 million, and we get to allocate those towards our clients. So minimum credit score for those guys, 640 on the credit score. But the biggest thing that they look at outside of that is going to be your income. There are caps to how much money you can make and still qualify for that down payment assistance. And then the biggest change that they made from year one to year two, Hometown Heroes, obviously in the name, they were looking for teachers, veterans, first responders, a lot of those people who help out and support our communities. They actually switched that up over the last year or so, and now it's, for the most part, any full-time employee in the state of Florida, as long as there's a brick and mortar location. So there are some options there to for almost anybody in the state of Florida to be able to qualify for that particular program. Only drawback to that is when you had $100 million pool for just first responders versus $100 million pool for everyone, funds can go extremely quickly. So that's a particular program that they will throw out additional batches afterwards, depending on the demand. But it's one of those kind of first come, first serve, types of programs for sure.
So if I'm a person that lives in Jacksonville, Florida, and I work for, let's say I'm a carpenter and I work for a carpentry company and they're based in Jacksonville, brick and mortar building, I would then be able to qualify. I'll be able to qualify for that particular. Interesting. So if I'm a person that's not, let's say at my company I work for is not based out of Jacksonville, you mentioned Florida Bond. Is that an option or no?
Yeah, I mean, Florida Bond works for pretty much every first-time home buyer, 640 credit score. But in going back to it, it's not necessarily that the company has to be based in Florida. They have to have a location in Florida. They want to make sure that you're not a company that's exclusively in Boston and you get to work remotely and get to work wherever you want, and you just choose Florida. So that's kind of the only caveat to it. It's been very few and far between where if you're working a full-time job in Florida that we can't get you those funds as long as they're available.
Gotcha. And if somebody was to not fit those requirements, then they have the opportunity potentially to go with Florida Bond.
Florida Bond or one of the other several programs that LoanDepot actually has about 3 or 4 different exclusive down payment assistance programs that we offer that no one else does. So
how does that work?
We have a tool for just about everything. But we have our Access One, which is we offer up to a $4,000 grant if you meet certain income thresholds. If you're about 80% of the median income for Fannie Mae, we offer you a grant as long as you're living in that area. We have Access One Plus that takes it a step further, and if you're in these special focused areas as designated where you currently live, so it's not where you move, but you can get an additional $5,000 in grant money from Fannie Mae to do a conventional loan. So those are programs that are absolutely free money. They're looking to target people who live in specific parts of Florida, Georgia. There's other states that have those areas as well. But that's up to $9,000, and there's no income cap on that particular one. So, hey, you make $200,000, you just want free $9,000 because you currently reside in this area, but want to move out of that area. Here's $9,000 to do that.
Interesting. So if I live in a particular area in Jacksonville, that particular grant, I could use that money even if I'm moving out of that area.
So yes. However, unfortunately, Jacksonville is not one of the designated focus areas.
Okay.
We do have places: Tampa, St. Pete, Clearwater, Orlando, Kissimmee, Sanford, West Palm, Miami, and there's one other one that it's eluding me right now. But if you're in some of those areas, we can pull you up. You could move from those areas to Jacksonville, because this program is based off of where your current residence is, not necessarily where you're moving to. So you can move those people right up here to Jacksonville. Jacksonville is a growing city. So come on up here. We'll welcome you for sure.
Interesting. Okay. So this is just, okay. So even though Jacksonville may not be in there, you can be a person that's living in St. Pete, like you said, or looking to move to Jacksonville, and you'll be able to have access to these funds. So down payment assistance. So what is it? What do you think the issue is? Because like some people will hear about down payment assistance, but I guess maybe they just think there's a threshold behind it and they don't know to take the extra step to discuss it. Because it seems like with a lot of clients that I've interacted with, or I've talked to, this is a discussion that they may bring up, but they just don't know much about it. So you think it's just an education thing, or what is it that you think that's making?
I talk to just about every one of my clients about it. I mean, I go through a pretty rigid checklist when I have those questions, just to see if you would qualify, because in many of these cases, some of these down payment assistance programs have better interest rates than what the market may be able to dictate otherwise. So again, every program's a little bit different, but if there's a situation where we can get you free money, we can get you a better interest rate, and that helps you qualify to get into a home faster, even if you don't need the money, I mean, why not spend someone else's money to get into the house, get a better interest rate, and then when your home's appreciated and you need to sell that house, pay that money back then, but utilize the resources you have to update the house, or do things that you want to do with those funds as opposed to spending it on the actual property.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you dropping some information on us on this, because I think a lot of people need to understand and know how down payment assistance can kind of help them out. Because there's a lot of people I think that are on the fence, especially with the nature of the market right now, that they're a little nervous or have some trepidation about where rates may be versus how much money they put down, because the current price of what houses are going for. Before we wrap this up, I do have a question. What would you advise somebody, let's say they're a millennial or a Gen Z, and they're looking to buy a house and they're looking at the market right now, they're a bit concerned, worried, discouraged. What would you tell them to kind of point them into the right direction?
I mean, ultimately, I would say first and foremost, buy the house that you can afford. I think that whether it's this generation or any generation, we got HGTV on the back TV over here right now. I mean, we get so caught up in that perfect home and having everything that we want, and that's not always the first step to get there. So the purchasing a home that you can afford when you can afford it, and then staying in the market as long as you can, allows you to build towards that home, and ultimately it's generational wealth. It's the number one wealth building tool in the United States. So why not utilize it?
I try to tell people all the time, the last 40 years, I believe we only have 5 years where we had a depreciation of 4 of them were because of what happened in 08. So, and that was ridiculous. I mean, no income, no asset loans. I mean, like, come on, that's not happening again. I don't think it ever happened before that either. So we like to call that an anomaly. So, hey, look, if you're trying to generate some wealth here, buy a house and sit on it, live in it. You can pay rent if you want to pay rent, but build some equity instead, right?
Yeah. Educate yourself. That's for sure.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you coming on and talking with me, Matt. Why don't you tell everybody where they can catch you at?
Yeah, anytime. My pleasure. I mean, you guys are always welcome. Follow me on social media, Instagram, Matt Sapienza at LoanDepot. You can also find me on Instagram. It's Matt Sapienza NMLS. I post a lot of different content, first-time homebuyer programs, really just trying to be an educational resource for people out there. And who knows, you might see some blooper reels and stuff like that, where it's a little bit more comical than the serious nature. But
or video with your terrible swing.
Exactly.
I'm just kidding.
Reach out to me if you ever Google Matt Sapienza LoanDepot, you'll find me out there.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate you coming on.
Anytime, brother. Take care.